Hello, my name is Jay Carpenter. I am founder of Star Camps, and today is Tuesday, August the 13th, 2024. It's 7 p.m. Pacific time, and we will be having these community sessions on every Tuesday for the foreseeable future at 7 p.m. for 30 minutes. And this is a way for the community to get together, get on the same page, get oriented in terms of what's going on, what Star Camps is about, and what the opportunity set is for the people that are participating in the community. So let me talk just a little bit about that right up front, because this is being recorded and people will be watching this might not have any idea what Star Camps is. And this is different than the type of initiative that you're probably used to, which is open source, where you participate, but you're participating because you're interested in learning things, you're interested in creating things, you're interested in collaborating with other members of the community. All of that is present here in the Star Camps community, but this is different. This is a modification of the decentralized constructs that we're all, at least most of us in this community, are used to, which is like Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc., where your participation in those communities and those initiatives has had a monetization mechanism associated with it. If you chose to be a miner, if you chose to, um, own those cryptocurrencies, and this is not a cryptocurrency by there won't be a coin or anything like that associated with Star Camps, but there are some characteristics that are similar to that. But there are other characteristics that are similar to Star Camps that you might think of this like one of the games that you might play virtually, where you create land and you build things on that land, and you can buy things for the land, you can sell things for the land, that sort of thing. So this is really, in my view, a different animal. So we're going to talk about tonight's session is primarily an opportunity to learn about an event that's coming up on the 27th and 28th of August at the Internet Archive. And tonight's session is primarily designed for people that want to participate, people that have technical skills, people that want to create their own Star Camp for themselves, and everybody who has a cell phone can do that. And people that are interested in looking at what we'll call choice camps or choice Star Camps. So we'll talk about that. I don't want to go into the details up front too deeply, but this is a different initiative than probably what you've ever seen before. And it also deals with identity and state. So I'm going to go through a slide presentation, and then at the last 10 minutes from 7:20 to 7:30, I'm going to open it up for questions, and we've got some people that have joined, and we'll find out what the community is gleaning out of this and what questions there are, and we'll open it up for conversation. But let's get into the screen share, and let me go through what most of you should have received, that is sort of like a ongoing Google Doc invitation that's going to keep folks informed. So my computer's a little slow. Okay, hopefully you can see that now. So again, these sessions are every Tuesday, 30 minutes, 7 p.m. Pacific. And what we're going to be, here's your Zoom link, and you can click that Zoom link directly and connect without a password. But if you're unable to use the Zoom link, there's the meeting ID and the password. So you should be able to connect in whatever manner best suits your needs. So let's talk a little bit about the upcoming sessions at the Internet Archive. So we're going to have an evening session on Tuesday, August the 27th. We'll start at 5 p.m. and we'll have we'll have a social hour, then we'll have dinner, then we'll at 7 p.m. we'll start presentations, and I do plan to open up this Zoom for people that want to join in for the first 30 minutes of the presentations, so that we keep the regular cadence of these community sessions. But the following day, we're going to have a build session that's open to the people that participate in the evening session. And it's going to be limited to 20 people because we're going to need to start this on a fairly small scale because we don't have all the infrastructure in place for anything large. And we really want to build a core community of folks that are interested in this and are interested in participating, interested in building things to create star camps and the whole infrastructure around this. But in this slide, I've put forth some proposals for what we can start building like pretty much immediately. We can possibly start monetizing this immediately. And I think we have an opportunity to create something that at least I think everybody needs and everybody's wanted for a really, really long time. And it's a project that if we can pull it off, it serves a need that both combines universal identity with universal state, hopefully in a very interesting way, and we might be able to solve some problems that haven't been solvable up until this point. So I haven't mentioned it yet, but we have another community, braid.org, which is doing universal state synchronization, leveraging HTTP and something called conflict-free replicated data types, which is basically like doing Google Docs without Google Docs. So we're playing with identity and we're playing with state. We're seeing how those two dance together. So what if we did this? What if we created some sort of prototype where we are able to change our, let's say, our address or our email or our phone number, all three of those things, like when we move, and we change it one time and it propagates out to all of our various places that had our old email, street address, telephone number, and it updates them automatically. If we can do that, I think we get something that immediately serves an interesting need. And it also demonstrates how identity and state sort of dance together. Now, I'm not an expert in Braid, even though I'm an active member in the community, but it will require the folks from Braid to show us if this is feasible on some level. And it's not going to be polished or anything else, but I think that could be an interesting project. And by the way, we're free. We don't have anything cast in stone here or set in stone. So we're free to create whatever we want in this initiative. This is in the very, very early stages. So that's one proposal for a project that the group can take on. And again, it'll be the maximum capacity will be 20 participants. So that would afford like maybe 4 teams of 5 participants participating in this thing so we can collaborate. And I found that it gets a little too clumsy if we get beyond that number. So second thing that we can take on is each one of us, I'm guessing, will have a cell phone or a smartphone in our pocket. And that could be the seed for creating each of our, what I'm calling cell camps. So there's 2 types of camps. There's cell camps and there's choice camps. So cell camps have an identifier that might fit with an existing old copper line telephone number. And if that's the case, we want to be sure that the person creating the cell camp has some sort of control over that cell number because we don't want collisions happening. So one of the things that the 20 folks participating at the Internet Archive activities, they can create their first cell camp and create their campsites. So each camp will have 10 a number of campsites. I'm not going to go into the details, but you can create campsites, and each one of these will have its own public key, public-private key pair. So that's project number 2. Project number 3 is having all of us, of the 20, hacking on some example choice camps. So choice camps, and I'm going to show you some examples in a moment, are camps that have a human-friendly phrase associated with them, but they don't have it's impossible for them to have an underlying public switch telephone network telephone number that might collide with that camp identifier, camp name. So we can talk about other proposals as well, but that's the basic set of three possible activities that our group can take on. And again, certainly we're open to more. This is just a sort of a setting out some examples of what we might work on. So here's an example of Jay's my cell camp. So my cell phone number or smartphone number is 1-602-228-4486. So I didn't go into it here, but that will be the first 11 digits of my cell camp identifier. And I can create some kind of clunky, human-friendly words and phrases out of that, and I'll go into that probably next week. But I will also generate a public key that I can associate it with my camp identifier, which will be 15 digits, not 11. So that's an example of a cell camp. And each one of us, each one of the 20 people participating on the 27th and 28th, will be able to create your first camp, which will be your cell camp if you so choose. Now, the second type of camp I'm referring to is a choice camp. And what I mean by choice camp, well, it's actually got multiple meanings to choice. But first and foremost is, if you're a developer and you choose to participate in this initiative, you might want to start building some things that the entire initiative could use. So you might say, hey, and I'm going to use somebody who's on the call. So Matt's on the call. I know Matt's a developer. I know he's very talented. And Matt might say, hey, Jay, I think I could create an interesting marketplace for the choice camps. So if the group will allow me to choose, let's say, 4 or 5 choice camps for the work I do to create a marketplace, then I'll create a marketplace and I'll have the right to, let's say it's 5 choices for choice camps or 5 picks. Then Matt will be able to go out in the greenfield unused ecosystem. And in this case, I picked 1111, and that you could go 2222 or 9999, whatever, or any combination for the prefix. And Matt might say, okay, I'm interested in 1111 internet, or I'm interested in 1111 archive. And by the way, in this case, I do request that if we develop something on these, we actually recognize that these are great camp names for the Internet Archive, for Ethereum, for Filecoin, for Protocol Labs, and the Stellar Network. And we have sort of an agreement that if these entities want these choice camps, that we will actually just turn it over to them. So hopefully that gives you a little glimpse of choice camps. But choice camps, cell camps, cell camps not so much, because you have to have the underlying public switch telephone number, but choice camps certainly can trade in the marketplace, and we can start to build all sorts of interesting things, just like you would with a virtual game where you're building land and things like that. So this is the minimal stack I'm which is the elements of starcamps.net. And by the way, right now you got to put in www.starcamps.net, braid.org, and those folks should be joining us. And then on the Google Slides that you're using right now, this is where I'm proposing that we keep the actual camp identifiers and hashes of public keys as our source of truth, just as a way to get started. I've selected what I consider to be a very simplified and easy to use way to encrypt, decrypt, sign cryptographic keys, pgptool.org. I'm proposing we use Bitwarden to store our public and private key pairs. I'm proposing we use Patreon, and I'll probably go into that a little bit more in depth next week, because Patreon can serve as like a communications platform. Also, it can serve as a monetization platform. And then the Braid protocol, these you can click into see the Braid protocol and the specs. And I propose that we lean towards building on Raspberry Pis, primarily because I think it would be really cool to have all this happen as close to the metal as possible, and to be operational offline as well as online. So that's what I'm proposing for this minimal stack to get started. These are the folks that have so far raised their hands that they're interested in participating. And I'm going to keep a list like this so that we all start to understand who's involved. And excuse me. So we understand who's involved. We can keep track of the initial community members, and we can also see the hash of their public key has a higher degree of authenticity than just pulling it off a key server or whatever. So and then you'll be able to track the events also on this Google Docs or Google Slides, and we will have past events, and we will have recordings on here as well. So, and there will be a YouTube channel set up for these recordings, but this is the agenda for Tuesday, the 27th, 5 p.m. doors open, 6 p.m. dinner, 7 we'll open up the Zoom for 30 minutes. We'll have a talk by Braid, start camps, and then talk about proposed projects. Wrap it up by 8:30. And then on Wednesday, the 28th, we'll meet at the Internet Archive at 11, have about an hour of set up the whatever our infrastructure is, and also do introductions. 12 o'clock, we'll have lunch. Then during lunch, you can meet the other folks, break off into teams of 5, and basically pick one or all of those 3 proposed projects that I was talking about. Then at 3:30, we'll talk about what the teams encountered, have presentations, and conclude. And also talk about, what is next? Where do we go from here? So yeah, we will have the videos available. This is just a depiction of some fun characters in the Stellar community. I was giving a similar presentation, and we talked about having star camps both virtually as well as physically. And I threw out the crazy idea of, what if we had a star camp in Antarctica? So this is what penguins might look like as star campers or star camp knots. So, but this does bring up a critical piece, which is, I think that for this to really, really be a cool project and be decentralized, I think it would be cool to house let's say we do that, that address update project. What if we have pieces of it be in the Stellar network, the Ethereum, the Filecoin, and maybe a fourth trusted repository that's not a blockchain, from an institution that we all might be familiar with. So this is also a depiction of that possibility. So this is how you can contact me, and I believe that's it. So I'm going to take it off screen share and open it up for questions. All right, Matt.
No questions from me at the moment. Just
Okay.
trying to come up to speed, and yeah, thanks.
Okay. So Matt, you were at my presentation at DWeb Camp on universal unified identity and state. And does this Star Camps, do you see the connection between the two?
Yeah, I mean, with what you're doing with star camps, you're going to need identifiers for an identity and state for something. So you're going to need a solution for that. So I sort of see the relationship between them. Yeah, I wouldn't mind sort of at some point, probably not on this call, but just to get into more of the implementation details, as well as some of the problems that we're looking at solving with some of this sort of stuff, to see where it can go.
Okay, cool. All right, I will plan to include that on next week's session, which will be
cool.
Tuesday the 20th. And yeah, I will talk about use cases and how this might work, how it's important to get this in the hands of real people and see how they use it, how they react to it, how they can possibly, send messages.
The usual stuff for
Yeah.
sort of starting a new project, whether it's open source or a business or whatever else, is identifying sort of what problems so we're trying to solve that others haven't, and why this and how this is sort of solving that kind of thing. I think will probably resonate well with people looking to volunteer and sort of get involved in it. They'll get to sort of feel more, I guess, attached to it. So, but yeah, that'll be great in one of the upcoming calls.
Cool. All right, I will definitely focus on that. And let's see. The other key elements of this that I can think of are, if you want to participate and you want to be on the list, it really helps me if I have your email address, because then I can include you on the distribution of the calendar invites, which will have a link to this Google Slides, which will be updated periodically. So, I really request that you email info@starcamps.net, and that will get you into the loop. Yeah, so the other thing I would like to emphasize is I really think it's important in our starting phases to keep the stack as simple, as mainstream as possible, and only reluctantly add complication, because I think the easier this is for anybody and everybody to start to use, develop upon, and so forth, the better off we will be. The overall design of this is to have a really stupid, let's not say stupid, bad word, a really simple, bare bones, basic center of the network, and then put all the logic, all the, fancy stuff on the very endpoints. And that that is a fundamental key design choice in this structure. So that's something that I think is really, really important. Is this is unlike other initiatives around identity and stuff like that, where they've been quite complicated in terms of what the identifiers do and how they fit into different use cases and contexts and scenarios and all that stuff. Let's see if what we can create with something that's really, really as basic as possible, that's as undisputable as possible, that both sides, let's say that I mean, we're talking about a global use case here, and not all factions see the world as the same way, but I think we can create something with this that is undisputable from all worldviews, and as our starting point. So anything you hear out of that, Matt?
No, again, nothing for me. Just soaking it all in and taking it in and coming up to speed. Yeah, just interested in all these projects that are out there. So do a bit more reading, and yeah, I'll probably try and jump on the next call and see how that goes.
Cool. All right. Well, let's go ahead and
I have
wrap
to
it.
drop now, though.
Yeah.
Great. I got to.
Let's wrap it up. So
yeah.
Thanks for participating. Thanks for watching this, and stay tuned for next week. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.